Hello, friends of Paleoanthropology and, of course, the world of Paleoanthropology. Today is Friday, and I'm happy to be recording this week's episode of PaleoFirdays. I know I've missed the last few weeks. My apologies. As I've mentioned on social media, I just got a new puppy, and he has been keeping me absolutely busy, although I've been keeping up to date with all of the goings on within the world of anthropology and the happenings. And so today we're going to be talking about something that just was announced the other day that I want to talk about, not kind of for the opposite reason of why other people are talking about it. And the big thing that was announced this week was a site in Kenya. I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation, but I'm going to try my best. Near Lake Victoria, called Nyango. And what was discovered is they were doing an excavation led by Emma Finestone, and they were excavating an ancient hippo. And it was a stormy night. In fact, she was afraid that the crane that was lifting the skull out was going to be hit by lightning. So it was already an electrifying night, so to say. And once they lifted the cranium of the hippo out, they found underneath it a trove of Oldowan tools, flakes, and other parts of what would be the Oldowan toolkit. And among that, they found Paranthropus teeth, which some of you might be saying, oh my goodness, this is groundbreaking. We found a new species, not even a new species, a new genus that was using tools. What are we going to do? And that's the way that a lot of popular media has been reporting on it and been talking about it. I've seen CNN, ABC, all the big news people making these posts like this is one of the greatest discoveries in paleoanthropology of the century. And quite frankly, it's just not. And I'll tell you why. So, as we've met before in an episode of Skulls with Seth, we have Zinj, who is, of course, a Paranthropus boisei, in fact, and it was the first of the genus that was found, discovered by Mary Leakey in Olduvai Gorge. And the thing is, and of course, Nutcracker Man, if you recall, and so if we're looking, it's teeth like these that were similar that were found, the molars. So Mary Leakey discovered this guy. And in the same level, on the same archaeological level, she found tools. For some reason, I don't know why, she did not believe that this creature that she found, this clear hominin, was not the maker of these tools. And in fact, they still might not be. This find does not conclude that Paranthropus made these tools. All we know is that they were using them. But in this same level that they found the Paranthropus fossil and the tools, they found Homo habilis, which Mary Leakey attributed all the tools to the smaller but bigger-brained Homo habilis than the larger-toothed, more robust Paranthropus boisei. And since then, that's been the gold standard. Paranthropus never used tools. They weren't part of that complex ideology of toolmaking. But now that seems to be thrown out the window. But here's the thing. This is not the first time we've known that pre-humans, non-humans, have made stone tools. And in fact, just for a brief moment before I go into who was the first that we currently believe to be the creator of stone tools, I'm going to talk about the idea that many of us don't really think about. So stone tools, I mean, they're awesome, right? We know they were very useful. We know they were used for a lot of things. We know they preserve well in the archaeological record. But guess what doesn't? Guess what we know that humans or pre-humans or human-like creatures have used and do use that doesn't preserve? Wood, bone, and other more soft tissue materials. We know from hunter-gatherers and indigenous peoples that bone tools are used frequently and commonly, as well as wood tools. So, for all we know, Australopithecus 5 million years ago was using wooden or bone tools for various challenges that they faced in their environments. And the jump to stone tools was only a natural progression from what we saw, or we haven't seen it yet, but from what we believe will be bone and wood tools. Nothing has been found or preserved well enough that we can actually use or learn anything from it. So going back to stone tools, while it is true that the Oldowan tools found at this site push the date of the Oldowan tools from 2.6 million years ago to 2.8, which is a nice jump. It's, 200,000 years. That's a pretty big jump when we're talking geologic time in human perspective, but it's not that much farther. To the point where, does this really change what we knew? Not precisely. And in fact, so the other stone tool complex that I was talking about is called the Lomekwian, because it was found in Lomekwi, Kenya. This is all occurring in Kenya, so obviously something very important is going on in this region of Africa. And these tools are much more simple than Oldowan tools. They're much more flaky. But they date to 3.5 million years old, which is a good deal older than any Oldowan tool that we have found. And so these tools are believed to have been used, created, and manufactured by Australopithecus afarensis, or Lucy species. And this would mean that everything we've known about stone tool making, tool use, needs to be rewritten. It's just incorrect. Homo habilis, his name literally means the handyman. Well, we know now, while Homo habilis did create and use tools that were more complex than its forebears, it was not the first to use tools, not even stone tools, which is, even in, I'm only 27, I turned 28 in March, and even when I started learning about paleoanthropology, Homo habilis was still the handyman. He was the first tool maker. So this, in that sense, in the sense of changing the idea that Homo habilis was the only one using tools, I think this is a great and informative discovery where we're learning that yes, other species were walking around, other genuses were walking around, perhaps they were even learning from each other or finding other tools that were created by other species and making their own. It's so much more complex than we ever knew or thought, but the idea and the sensationalism behind this particular find, I believe, is a little overblown. Just because we have so much evidence for what this paper is trying to explain already. And it's important, don't get me wrong, and it adds to the abundance of evidence that we have, which is so critical in any anthropological or archaeological find, because that's what makes our science a science, is the hard evidence. So, we need to continue to add to the fossil record. We need to continue to add to our base of knowledge so that we can understand what these things and these items, these artifacts mean when we do find them. Because to just assume now that Paranthropus is the only and oldest toolmaker, or that really any assumption made about it is an assumption. I saw on Twitter, I wish I could give them credit, but I don't recall who it was. They said something along the lines of, I like to say, unless you find the hominin or the individual with the flake in their hand, you don't really know what they were doing with it. And I think there's nothing more true than that. That goes for pretty much all of archaeology. And we really need to, I think, draw back a bit and go, okay, here's what we know, here's what we have, let's move on from there. Instead of going, look at this amazing new find, it rewrites everything. Because while everything does need to be rewritten, and that was actually what today's episode was supposed to be about, maybe it'll be next week's, this is not how we do it, in my opinion. And it's being rewritten in different ways, and I think we need to coalesce and make a jump to the next generation. One important aspect, however, that I would like to highlight that is worth noting because of its importance, after speaking with some researchers, is that while this is not the oldest known tools, and this is not even, a new species, it is a first of a few things. First of all, it is the oldest hard evidence now, confirmed evidence of cut marks made by humans, hominids, pre-humans, whatever you'd like to call these creatures, on bone. So that's a big thing. We have our first cut marks showing meat eating. So Paranthropus, again, despite its huge teeth, might have also been eating meat, which is very different from what we knew about their diet previously. But would it be that surprising if they were omnivorous? Not very. And then the other thing, of course, is that this does push back the dates for the older one tools. Previously, they were about 2.6 million years old. Now the dating is between about 3 and 2.6. So 2.8, 2.9 is kind of where they're pushing it back to, which also pushes back the dates of Homo and Paranthropus. So these are important things to take note of, but is it worth all of this exciting headlines? I'm not so sure. I'll let you decide that. And I think I'll leave it off there for this week. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Remember to subscribe, like, and hit that notification button to be alerted to any new videos that are coming out. You can check down below to see my shop, to see any cool shirts that I've created from my own drawings of my 3D printed skulls. The funds are used to help me do all this and educate for free. So, thanks.